Gaura Pramanande, Jam Shripata Paramahams Privajacharya, Ashto Tarasita Shishima, Dhabai Charanada and the Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki, Iskon Guru Vrinda Ki, Jai Nitai Gaur Siddhanath Pramanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naran Shaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirajet Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yet Kripadamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Harihi Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. So, we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, entitled The Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 26, entitled King Purañjana Goes to the Forest to Hunt and His Queen Becomes Angry. Texts 1 to 3. So, those of you who are new, you can just go online to vedabase.com. Vedabase.io, sorry, and then just Google 4.26.1-3 SB. Okay. The three shlokas, we'll do the first one together, and then the other two I'll just read. Nārada Uvacha. Nārada Uvacha. Sa ekada maheshvaso Sa ekada maheshvaso Ratam panchashvam ashugam Ratam panchashvam ashugam Dvisham dvichakram ekaksham Dvisham dvichakram ekaksham Trivenum panchabandhuram Trivenum panchabandhuram Nārada uvacha Sa ekada maheshvaso Ratam panchashvamashugam Dvisham dvichakram ekaksham Trivenum panchabandhuram Nārada uvacha Sa ekada maheshvaso Ratam panchasvamashugam Dvisham dvichakram ekaksham Trivenum panchabandhuram. Gentlemen. Nārada uvacha sa ekada maheshvaso ratam panchashvamashugam sa ekada maheshvaso Dvisham Ekaksham Trivenum Panchabandhuram Nārada Uvaca Sa ekada maheshvasa Ratam panchashvamashugam Visham Chakra Ladies. Nārada sa ekada maheshvaso Ratam panchashvamashugam Visham Vichakra Ekaksham Trivenum Panchabandhuram Nārada Uvaca sa ekada maheshvaso Ratam panchashvamashugam Visham Vichakram Ekaksham Trivenum Panchabandhuram. Okay, so the other two shlokas. Ekarashmi ekadamanam ekanidam dikubaram panchapraharanam sapta varutham panchavikramam haimopaskaramarухya swarnavarmakshayeshudhi ekadasha chamunataha pancha-prastham agadvanam. Word to word. Nārada Uvaca. Nārada said, Saha King Purañjana Ekada, once upon a time, Maha Ishvasaha, carrying his strong bow and arrows, Ratham, chariot, Pancha Ashvam, 5 horses, Ashugam, going very swiftly, Dviisham, 2 arrows, Dvichakram, 2 wheels, Eka, 1, Aksham, axle, Tree, 3, Venum, flags, Pancha, 5, Bandhuram, obstacles, Eka, 1, Rashmi, rope, rein, Eka, 1, Damanam, chariot driver, Eka, 1, Needam, sitting place, Dvi, 2, Kubaram, posts to which the harnesses are fixed, Pancha, 5, Praharanam, weapons, Sapta, 7, Varutam, coverings or ingredients of the body, Pancha, 5, Vikramam, processes, Haima, golden, Upaskaram, ornaments, Aruhya, riding on, Swarna, golden, Varma, armor, Akshaya, inexhaustible, Ishudhi, quiver, Ekadasha, 11, Chamunataha, commanders, Pancha, 5, Prastham, destinations, objectives, Agat, went, Vanam, to the forest. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. The great sage Nārada continued, My dear king, once upon a time, King Purañjana took up his great bow and equipped with golden armor and a quiver of unlimited arrows, and accompanied by 11 commanders. He sat on his chariot driven by 5 swift horses and went to the forest named Pañca-prastha. He took with him in that chariot 2 explosive arrows. The chariot itself was situated on 2 wheels and 1 revolving axle. On the chariot were 3 flags, 1 rein, 1 chariot driver, 1 sitting place, 2 poles to which the harness was fixed, 5 weapons, and 7 coverings. The chariot moved in 5 different styles, and 5 obstacles lay before it. All the decorations of the chariot were made of gold. Purport. These 3 verses explain how the material body of the living entity is under the control of the 3 qualities of the external energy. The body itself is the chariot, and the living entity is the owner of the body, as explained in Bhagavad Gita 2.13, Dehino asmin yatha dehe. The owner of the body is called the Dehi, and he is situated within this body, specifically within the heart. The living entity is driven by 1 chariot driver. The chariot itself is made of 3 gunas, 3 qualities of material nature, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 18.61, Yantrarudha Nimaya. The word yantra means carriage. The body is given by material nature, and the driver of that body is Paramatma, the supersoul. The living entity is seated within the chariot. That is the actual position. The living entity is always being influenced by the 3 qualities, sattva, goodness, rajas, passion, and tamas, ignorance. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7.13, Tribir Gunamai Bhavai. The living entity is bewildered by the 3 qualities of material nature. These 3 qualities are described in this verse as 3 flags. By a flag, one can come to know who the owner of the chariot is. Similarly, by the influence of the 3 qualities of material nature, one can easily know the direction in which the chariot is moving. In other words, one who has eyes to see can understand how the body is being driven, influenced by the particular type of quality of material nature. In these 3 verses, the activity of the living entity is described to prove how the body becomes influenced by the quality of ignorance. Even when a person wants to be religious, Nārada Muni wanted to prove to King Purañjana that the king was being influenced by the tamoguna, the quality of ignorance, even though the king was supposed to be very religious. I think it's a big purport. We'll stop here. To the prayers. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Gyananjana-shalakya Chakshur-unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruvei Namaha Shri Chaitanya-manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa-kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta-patagamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrujatam Sahagana Raghunathanutam Tam Shajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishwakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Jayatam Surato Pangur Mamanda Mater Gati Matsarvasvapadam Bhojo Radha Madana Mohanam Vancha kalpa turubhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha parithanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Dishatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadathar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapataka Swamiti Saravana Acharya Padayana Gurukada Dhamadayana Gramathadine. Hare Krishna. So we're starting with the next chapter, continuing the story of King Purañjana. Nārada Muni is narrating and instructing King Purañjana through the allegory of Purañjana. Basically, chapters 25 to 29. 25, 26, 27. 5 chapters. All of them basically talk about this allegory. The main character is King Purañjana. So what is the meaning of Puranjana? Puram is city, Jana is the living entity, which basically means the living entity who is residing within this city, and the city is the body. So this story is not historical in any ordinary sense, but it is basically psychological or a metaphysical map of the embodied existence. So through this, basically, Nārada Muni is trying to give some good advice to Prachina Bharishat. So in this particular scene, King Purañjana is going hunting. So what does the translation say? He took up his great bow, equipped with the golden armor, many different quiver, unlimited arrows, accompanied by 11 commanders, so on and so forth. And all of these paraphernalia, he's going hunting. Yeah, he takes up his bow, he wears golden armor. He enters the forest named Pañca-prastha. He is accompanied by 11 commanders, and he rides a chariot with 5 swift horses. So on the surface, it's a typical royal hunting, you know. Kshatriyas are known for their chivalrous spirit. Prabhupada mentions in his purport that the kingly, the order, if they have to maintain their chivalrous spirit and their fighting spirit, they regularly had to go on hunts. So they used to go hunting animals along with their entourage once in a while, because they had to keep their fighting spirit. Because if they were just peaceful sitting in one place, when the time came that they had to defend their kingdom and they did not have any fighting spirit, they would ultimately be defeated by the enemy commanders and kings. So, in this sense, allegorically speaking, this hunting represents violent sense gratification. Actually, Prabhupada mentions the purport. Purport is pretty big, so just trying to cover that. So the hunting basically represents violent sense gratification. Present day and age, everybody is behind sense gratification. Throughout the purports, Prabhupada actually would be mentioning in the Srimad Bhagavatam that sense gratification is basically the hard knot which actually binds the living entity to this material world. If that one single thing is absent, then technically speaking, the living entity has no position or no interest in actually being in this material world. Because of that enjoying spirit, he's stuck in this material world. It also symbolizes the exploitation of material nature. In this particular Pañca-prastha, they actually represent the 5 sense objects. So this, allegorically speaking, this forest is form, taste, sound, smell, and touch. The 5 sense objects. So what is happening here? The conditioned soul is all set, all prepared, and he's going to the forest of sense enjoyment, equipped for battle. Yeah. And what is a chariot? Now, let's try to decode what's the chariot. The chariot is none other than the body. Atmanam ratinam viddhi shariram natam evato, mentioned in Katha Upanishad. The soul is the passenger, and the body is the chariot. Again, the soul is the passenger, the body is the chariot. Again, Prabhupada mentions in the purport, yantra rudani maya. So, living entity is seated as on a machine. The body is the machine, passenger is the soul. The soul is seated within. What are the 5 swift horses? He's also accompanied by swift horses. The eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, and the skin. So we have the 5 sense objects which is represented before, which is the forest. And how is he enjoying the forest? Through these 5 Gyanendriyas, the 5 knowledge acquiring senses. Why are they called swift? Because attraction for the sense objects happens immediately. You are sitting in this Bhagavatam class, but the mind will be on the nice rice dal, sabji or chole, which is waiting for breakfast, right? So immediately the mind is, it can just go. And when we hear something, we hear some, maybe some sweet music, and immediately we remember, oh, so many years ago I was there in this nice concert and I was enjoying myself. Yeah, we smell something really nice, and immediately we can remember some nice rasgullas or rasmalais which have been cooking at home or which you had to enjoy a lot. So in this way, just a fraction or just a moment is enough for the senses to get attracted to the sense objects. And how are these sense objects controlled? By one rein, R-E-I-N, rein, the mind. So basically the rein is connecting the driver to the horses. If the reins are loose, what happens? Horses start running wild. Yeah, they just don't run, they just run wild, which means basically the senses are out of our grasp. The chariot driver is intelligence or buddhi. So the intelligence must control the mind. So if the intelligence is weak, if the chariot driver, so think about it very logically. So intelligence, the mind, and then the senses are there, 5. So if the chariot driver, whose intelligence is very weak, he lets loose the reins, lets loose the mind, then automatically the horses, they go crazy. Yeah. But if the intelligence is strong, you have a strong grip on the reins, then you have all, facility to actually direct the horses to where you want to go. Continuing with the description of the chariot. So there are 2 wheels it's mentioned. So what are the 2 wheels? Pious and impious karma. So the body is moving on karma. One wheel is punya, other wheel is papa. And both of them are moving on the axle of time. So the axle is kala, time. So as time keeps rotating, in the same way the time wears off the body and time ends the journey. Another interesting fact, you see during ancient times, even up till the recent 15th, 16th centuries and all that, when they're going for war, they actually have flags to represent which party is coming or which party is going. So in the same way, there are 3 different flags which represents the 3 modes of nature, sattva, rajas and tamas. There are 2 poles, the lamentation and illusion. 5 weapons, which are the 5 working centers, karmendriya, hands, legs, speech, genitals and rectum. So basically these are used to hunt. These are the 5 weapons. 7 coverings, so the bodily layers, the skin, the muscle, fat, blood, bone, marrow and semen. And then ultimately, finally it says, he's completely bedecked with golden decorations. And what are the golden decorations? They represent Rajagun. So the external opulence which is decorating this temporary vehicle. So when we actually think about this allegory, that the main problem is not the body, right? It's nothing to do with the body. The problem doesn't lie there. It completely lies in the uncontrolled senses. Arjuna himself is saying in Bhagavad Gita, right? Chanchalam hi mana krishnam pramati balavadudam tasyaham nigraham manye vayuriva sudushkaram. That the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate and very strong. So the mind is just always fixated on the objects of the senses. It is very practical. It's not something very esoteric. When we actually practically think about it, every moment in time we're actually thinking about something. Constantly the mind is churning out thoughts. Not one point in time is the mind just calm and just fixed. Always there's some thoughts churning. Sometimes if you go to one of these yoga classes, they'll say, sit in one place, close your eyes and think about nothing. That thinking about nothing itself is a thought, right? So you're not without thoughts at any point in time. So, but when those thoughts become uncontrollable, always, going towards the sense enjoyment, towards sense objects, that's the problem. That's when the mind becomes categorized as a friend or an enemy. The mind is always talking about or thinking about sense objects, then it's the enemy. Whereas when the mind is always thinking about positive engagement into the service of Krishna, that's when it becomes converted as a friend. Again in 6.6 it says, Bandhuratmana atmanastasya yenatmatmanajita anatmanastu shatrutve vartetat maiva shatruvat. So the mind is either the friend or the enemy. Shatruvat, yeah. So the mind is always absorbed in the sense objects, which is equal to bondage. But whereas when the mind is absorbed in Krishna, that is, considered to be in the path of liberation. There's another interesting point actually Prabhupada makes in the purport, that he's going on to say in these different allegories, right? All of these objects, the situation is that you're using all of these objects just for your own sense gratification. When we actually practically think about it, right? When one may question, why am I actually in this current material world? Why am I suffering at all? It all boils down to the single point that you have an enjoying tendency. Because of this enjoying tendency, you've been put into this situation in this material world. And the Krishna himself is so kind. Prabhupada says in so many purports, the Krishna is so kind that he gives the facility to enjoy. In the sense that the description is given that the living entity is put into a prison house, and he has limited facility to enjoy. So, modern day prisoners we see, many places we see, they put a prisoner in a prison house, but then he has a TV, flat screen TV, there's a pool attached, he has a nice, soft, queen-size bed, all these candles they come across it. This particular politician is supposed to be in prison, but he has all of these nice amenities and facilities. Is he actually in prison, or is he just enjoying himself? But actually, when we think about it, when you really think about it, we're still stuck in one place. It's actually a prison house. When Sanatan Goswami was stuck in the prison, is it Sanatan Goswami? Was stuck in the prison. He was actually preaching to the jailer, See, I am also stuck in a prison. Actually, you are also stuck in a prison. The only thing is, the person who's stuck in the prison knows he's a prisoner. But the one who's outside the prison house, he thinks, oh, I'm free, I can enjoy. This are all my facilities to enjoy. So technically speaking, everybody is in a prison house, given some facility to enjoy, and he thinks, oh, let me, make full use of all of these facilities for my own sense gratification. Yeah. But then, let's contrast that with what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught when he came 500 years ago. He practically demonstrated that how one should actually use his senses in the right way, in a way that will actually free us from this bondage of material life, and we can achieve something which is actually Sat, Chit and Ananda, which is full of bliss, which is permanent, which is full of knowledge and full of bliss. Right now we are Asat, Achit and Nirananda. We have a temporary bodies. We're not full of knowledge. We're always ignorant. Can anybody remember what they ate for yesterday's breakfast? Okay, you remember. What do you had for day before yesterday's breakfast? You still remember? No. So in this way, our memory is just transient. Something you remember, a couple of days pass, you forget. That's why it's again, we're not full of knowledge. And bliss. Can anybody claim that I'm always blissful? No, it's not possible. Even practically speaking, people who are trying to be on the path of transcendentalists, practicing devotion, they themselves will say, oh, Prabhu, I'm always not happy. Why? Of course, compared to people who are not practicing, they will be qualitatively happier, but still, it will not be complete happiness because we're still on the path, Until and unless we achieve the stage by which all of our senses are in the service of Hishikesha, Hishikena, Hishikesha Sevanam, until all of our senses are actually 24/7 actually engaged in the service of Krishna, we see that we will not always feel happiness. So again, coming back to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's example, there's a contrast. It says in Antya Leela 15:17, Mahaprabhu is actually describing that my mind is like a single horse being ridden by 5 senses. But here's the contrast. He says, my eyes want Krishna's form, my ears want to hear his flute, the nose wants his fragrance, the tongue wants his lips, and the skin wants his embrace. Completely different contrast to King Purañjana. King Purañjana, senses are always pulling him towards Maya and sense gratification. Whereas Mahaprabhu's senses, pulling them towards Krishna. Right? Complete, same senses, the same senses, but a different destination. Okay, that's 500 years ago. Let's bring it a little bit more closer to us. 50 years ago, or a little bit more than 50, when Prabhupada was there, right? From a young age, Prabhupada was actually engaging all of his senses in the service of Krishna. He himself describes very sweetly, very humbly, he just says, when I was a young boy, this is the section when he's talking about Parikshit Maharaj, right? And when he says that Parikshit Maharaj from a young age, because he got the protection of Krishna in the womb of his mother, when he was being burnt by the Brahmastra of Ashwatthama, then Krishna actually expands and he comes in the 400 form within the womb of Uttara, and he protects Parikshit. And that time, because of that, contact of Parikshit Maharaj with Krishna, he was always searching for Krishna throughout his life, from when he was young. That's why his name is Parikshit. He's always examining, is this the same person who I saw him in the womb of my mother? But anyway, so when he was a young child, he was always playing with dolls of Krishna, Radha and Krishna. He was playing with that, and he used to dress them up. And when the mother used to call him for come, he said, no, I don't want to come. That way, he was always engaged in the pastimes or playing with the dolls of Krishna. So in the same way Prabhupada describes, so I also got that opportunity because of my parents to actually worship Radha and Krishna. I was pulling the Ratha Yatra chariot. My father enabled me to actually perform this Ratha Yatra. So in that way, so again, when he was a kid. Fast forward to when he is on the Jaladuta voyage, right? It was not easy. Old man, very old man, 1965. He had 2 heart attacks. He was all alone, with very limited facilities, hardly any money, just one crate full of books. On his own, he's just traveling. And that day, is very old man. He's traveling from India to go to the US. His body is failing, but his intelligence was completely fixed on the spiritual master's instructions. And this is a classic example. When Prabhupada actually wrote that poem, when he's basically saying that I have, my body is failing, I have nothing, but just I am following the instruction of my spiritual master. And because of that, I am pushing myself to go and do this. So what does that mean? Which basically means that the intelligence, the driver is controlling the chariot. His intelligence is so much fixed on the instruction of the spiritual master that the body must follow, and it has to go according to those instructions. Again, fast forward to the Juhu stage, when he is trying to acquire that land for the Juhu temple. So much trouble, so much of anxiety he had to face. All of the disciples, they were just facing so much of anxiety. They had to go here and there. It was not at all an easy process. The situation was in such a extent that the deities were going to be hurt, the devotees were being hurt. I think Nārada Mataji was once mentioning this when she had come to class. Very interesting point that when the head pujari at that time, one proper disciple, she was Mataji, that she was trying to protect the deities during that Juhu struggle, and these policemen, they actually came, grabbed her by the hair, and they're just dragging her away from the deities, and she's just trying to fight as much as possible to escape and still protect the deities. And then they actually wrote about this to Srila Prabhupada. And then Prabhupada actually responded, yes, this is actual deity worship. This is the way this is a real preaching spirit. This is how we are actually fighting for the Lord. So the devotees, they went through so much of difficulties, but still they were always focused. They were never they never deviated from Srila Prabhupada's instructions. And Prabhupada himself, that time, he tolerated so many things, so much difficulties. But still he was actually, he was just completely fixed on that. Again, all of these examples are basically proving that, practically speaking, one's senses may be wild as wild can be. But if we just grab those senses and just try to somehow or the other engage them in the service of Krishna, service of Krishna's devotees, then ultimately the senses will transform in the sense that they will always be hankering for Krishna rather than hankering for your own sense gratification. And how does that start? That actually starts with the control of the mind. It starts with the control of the mind. Krishna says, Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskarum. It starts with that. Engage the mind in my service. Engage all of your activities in thinking about me. Offer obeisances to me. And by doing so, ultimately, your mind will always be thinking of me, and you'll ultimately come back to me. Right? Another example of Ambarish Maharaj, in the same sense, Havai Mena Krishna Padaravinda. He engaged all of his senses. He's the best example for all the 9 processes of devotional service. He engaged all of his senses in service of Krishna. A very classic example, he says. It says, he uses his legs to go to the temple, he uses his nose to smell the flowers and tulsi offered to the Lord, the lips to taste the prasadam, the eyes to see the beautiful form of the Lord. So in this way, all of his senses he was actually used to seeing the beautiful form of the Lord, engaged in his service. And at not one point in time was he at all, free. Up to that extent that Durvasa Muni, he was a great transcendentalist, right? He was a great mystic yogi. Huh? He had all of these mystical opulences, but then when he goes and tries to have a competition with the pure devotee of the Lord, Ambarish Maharaj, he goes and offends Ambarish Maharaj. Ultimately, who could save him? Nobody could save him. He was trying, he went to Brahma, he went to Lord Shiva. He also got the special opportunity to actually go to Vaikuntha itself to see Lord Vishnu. But when he goes to Lord Vishnu and says, please save me, what does he say? My devotees are greater than me. Yeah. So that's the greatness. Prabhupada mentions in this purport that if a devotee simply chants the Hare Krishna mantra, engaging his senses in the worship of the Lord, engages in prachar and spreading the glories of the Lord, then the Lord becomes obliged to the devotee. What does that mean? The Lord becomes so much obliged to the devotee, excuse me, that practically the devotee purchases the Lord. Can you imagine a situation that Krishna himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he's become a simple chariot driver for Arjuna. He's become purchased by the love of the Pandavas. The love of the Pandavas is so intense that Prabhupada is writing in his purport that they were so malleable to the instructions of Krishna that Krishna himself became like clay in their hand, that he himself became a simple messenger, a simple chariot driver. So this is the practical proof that one can purchase God if one simply tries to please God, right? If one simply tries to please God by chanting His holy names, by eating Krishna Prasad, by giving the message of God to everybody in the form of books, in the form of, in the form of the holy name, then automatically Krishna will be purchased by us. And isn't that a wonderful thought? Yeah, that you have such close attraction towards Krishna that at every single moment we have the facility to actually be with Krishna. The mentality should not be that, oh, I can purchase Krishna so I can use him as a servant. No, that's not the thought. The thought is that by pleasing the Lord so much, that Krishna is always with us 24/7. Actually, practically speaking, it requires a little bit of understanding that when we're chanting the holy names of the Lord, practically speaking, the Lord himself is there, present with us. But due to our conditioning, due to our offenses, we are not able to realize that we have the presence of Krishna with us at every moment we are chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. So, Mahaprabhu Srila Prabhupada has given us so much facility. They have given us so much of opportunity for us to actually control our mind, engage our senses in the worship of Krishna. But we just have to grab onto that process. And then the practical way on which to control the mind, again, Srila Rupa Goswami is mentioning in his Nectar of Instruction that Vacho Vegam Manasa Krodha Vegam Jihva Vedam Udarapasta Vegam, that the first method by which one can control the mind is actually through the tongue also. So, if you see the model in which Prabhupada has actually given us, it is completely holistic. Excuse me. If one joins this wonderful International Society for Krishna Consciousness, if it joins this Hare Krishna movement, Prabhupada has designed it in such a way that there is all facility for one to actually advance very quickly to the lotus feet of the Lord. It has all the ABCD. It has the association, it has the books, it has the chanting, all of this. And all of these activities put together, they help focus the mind. So one may ask, Prabhu, how do I control them? Oh, my mind is just flickering here and there. You've come to the right place. There are so many methods by which one can control the mind actually here. So many methods. If one is just fixed up in one service of the Lord, if one says, okay, just every day I'm going to get flowers for the Lord. Just that simple act of getting flowers every day, that itself enables one to actually fix the mind upon the Lord. That's the type of meditation. Okay, let me chant the holy name of the Lord. My 1,728 times I want to chant the holy name of the Lord. Okay, I will sit in one place and try to focus my mind on that chanting of the holy name. Lo and behold, that's also a type of meditation. You're fixing your mind on the um, form of the Lord, on His service. Okay, I like to read books. You have a wonderful opportunity to read Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. Reading these scriptures, you're focusing your mind completely on the Lord. Another way of controlling the mind. So, practically speaking, each and every activity which you are performing, if we perform it very nicely, that itself enables the mind to actually, reject all the nonsensical activities and come to the activities pertaining to Krishna. Of course, Prabhupada has given chanting as the primary method, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. But chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, that starts the cleansing process. So that's why when we go on Harinam and we are distributing books, Mahavishnu Maharaj gave a very nice example, right? When we're going on Harinam and we're distributing books, it's like you're throwing a dynamite in the pond, and then dynamite explodes, all these fishes, they go belly up and they start floating. What does it mean? Basically, the dynamite is like the holy name. You're injecting the seed of the holy name into the hearts of everybody. You're giving the seed, the bija of the holy name into everybody's heart, because that they can also get the opportunity to start chanting the holy name. And when that holy name goes into the heart, then automatically that transfer of the mind also, they become a little bit more positive. And somebody approaches, Prabhu, there's a nice book on transcendence and yoga and meditation. And I remember, we went the other day, we're like, Happy Valentine's Day. Would you like a book on yoga and meditation? And the Prabhu was like, Prabhu, Valentine's Day, yoga and meditation, they don't go well together. But surprisingly, when I went and did that to one person, that person was like, oh, very nice, give me immediately. So sometimes it works, sometimes it may not work. So so when we go on Harinam and we give these books also, it's just so wonderful that, people get immediately transformed. And they also get the opportunity to engage their mind and senses in the service of Krishna. Hishikena Hishikesha Sevanam. So what's the final conclusion? King Purañjana is completely representing the conditioned soul. Man, riding the sense body, pulled by the senses, moving under karma, driven by time, decorated by passion, ultimately defeated by death. Whereas Mahaprabhu, what is he showing by example? His senses are purified, mind is completely focused on Krishna, same chariot, but different destination. One chariot goes down, another chariot is going up all the way to Krishna. And of course, Prabhupada practically demonstrated all of this by his life, and his followers are continuing in that manner, continuing the teaching of Prabhupada in the same spirit and propagating that to all and sundry. And ultimately, we have to then take up the next we take the opportunity to actually then do our part. This Krishna consciousness movement is a parampara, which means it doesn't stop at one stage, which means the generations keep going next, on and on and on. So Prabhupada is given to his disciples, now the disciples are given the beacon to us, so then we have to try our best to push this movement as much as possible. The next 10,000 years is the golden period, golden age, because Mahaprabhu is also here. There was once, I think, I was hearing from the senior devotee that says, at one point in time within this 10,000 years, we have all the facility that there will come a day that the whole world will be chanting the holy names of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But to achieve that, each person must do their part. Each person must go beyond the comfort zone and try to actually spread this Krishna consciousness movement. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, there's no person as much as dear to me as one who actually spreads this message of the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's the easiest process in which Prabhupada is given, that one can become very close to God and can also give God to others in such a way that ultimately the mind will be controlled by spiritual senses, by spiritual intelligence. The senses will be serving Hrishikesha, and we'll finally achieve the goal of the Lord driving our chariot rather than us driving our own chariot. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Any questions, comments? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are the five sense objects. They. Hmm. That's an allegorical representation, basically. So the destinations are non-different from the five sense objects. That's what they represent. Oh, you said in the forest, what are the five destinations? So the forest itself is Pañca-prastha, which represents the sense objects. Hmm. Which paragraph of the purport you said? Yeah, it says in the forest named Pañca-prastha, where the king went to hunt, is the forest of the five sense objects: form, taste, sound, smell, and touch. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, when you think about it, we are just so much focused on that as our objective, our destination is that when we're doing sense enjoyment, it's when we get into we pick any of them, and we're just so much obsessed over it, and then we want to achieve it by hook or crook. So in that sense, when we think about it, that's a destination. We want to achieve that destination no matter what. When I want to touch something, I want to enjoy something, no matter what, I want to do it. When I want to eat something, oh, come what may, I want to try and achieve and eat that. That kind of obsession to achieve that destination or that objective, that object. So that's five different objectives basically. Amish? I mean, it's an allegorical story, so that's a little bit confusing sometimes. Any other questions, comments? Huh? Oh, if it's not politically correct, then forget about it. Okay. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Srila Gurudev ki, Jai Nitai Gaur Sitanat Ramanande.